The book of Philippians is written by the Apostle Paul to the church in Philippi. And in this letter, he is encouraging them and showing his appreciation for them because of their support in his ministry, their concern for his imprisonment. But more importantly, he's writing because of the joy that he has for their partnership in the gospel. So let's dive into Philippians and see what it looks like for us to partner in the gospel. I entreat Euodia and I entreat Syntyche to agree in the Lord. Yes, I ask you also, true companion, help these women who have labored side by side with me in the gospel together with Clement and the rest of my fellow workers whose names are in the book of life. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. Something we don't do enough of in the church is to be ministers of reconciliation. We see Paul in chapter 4 showing us that there are two women who have disagreement with each other. There may be a conflict within them or between them, and they're not able to work it out. Well, it's obviously reached Paul. This has been a big enough conflict that it's already reached the ears of Paul, and he's heard about it, whether it was from Epaphroditus or Timothy or somebody else, but he knows that there's an issue going on here. And so he continues to encourage the church, saying, look, I love both of these women. They have been true partners in the gospel here. So encourage them that they would agree in the Lord. Now, again, we've talked about this, but we may have disagreements and we may have differences, and that's okay. The issue is how we respond to them. In fact, our disagreements and our differences, they can be good. We're not going to agree on everything. And so they can be good. But how we respond to them makes them right or wrong. So our encouragement here is not just that we would agree on everything, but that we would agree in the Lord. That they can set their differences and their disagreements aside and focus on the Lord himself. And that would be enough. As a church, we need to be better at helping people reconcile with one another. We need to come alongside when we see a conflict and recognize that that is not healthy for the building up of the body of Christ. And that we need to build up one another and encourage one another to agree in the Lord. If nothing else, let us agree in the Lord. Paul continues to rejoice, and he encourages us to surrender everything over to God and set our minds on the things of God, that we not be distracted or caught up on things that would distract us from what is true, what is noble, what is pure, that we not be caught up in things that are not from God, but that if we surrender to him, if we continue to surrender ourselves to him, we would have no reason to be anxious about anything, but that his peace that surpasses all understanding would overcome us. So he's calling us to transform our minds. He's calling us to rethink the way we've been thinking, and he's calling us to put our minds on whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's anything excellent, if there's anything worthy of praise, let us think about these things. And what we have learned and received and heard and seen in him, let's practice these things, and that the God of peace will be with us. So this is the challenge that Paul is giving us, that we would rethink the way we think and put our minds on the things of God. In doing so, and in following Paul's example in doing that, God's peace will be upon us. How many of us truly experience God's peace on a regular basis? And why might that be? Are we allowing ourselves to get pulled away from these things that are true and noble, honorable, commendable, pure? Are we getting distracted from these things, getting pulled away because we're getting anxious about maybe things that are happening in the world around us? Maybe we're busying ourselves with some of the things Paul was talking about in the previous chapter that he once was able to boast about, but now counts as loss. Maybe we have yet to count those things as loss, and that is what's causing us some anxiety. That's what's making it difficult for us to put our minds on whatever is true, whatever is honorable. It's distracting us from putting our minds on the things of God. What are some of our goals? Are our goals even aligned with God's will? Whatever is excellent. Are we seeking God's will in everything that we say and everything that we do? Are we putting these things into practice, or are we just crossing our fingers that one day we'll just wake up and we'll be perfect? That we will have this whole God thing all figured out and our lives will be completely just transformed beyond our control? Or are we practicing these things? I think that we would experience a lot more peace if we would just work towards that peace. That recognizing that it's not just a snap of the finger and that we have that peace, but that peace comes with the relationship we have in Christ. When you're in a relationship with someone, doesn't it take time for you to become comfortable with them? For you to kind of let your guard down around them and find rest in them? Know that you can be yourself and they're not going to judge you for who you are or anything like that, that they will simply love and embrace you. Isn't that what God's called us to as well? That we can let our guard down with him. But that takes time. And that means that we have to put these things into practice and that we slowly grow in these areas. May the peace of God that surpasses all understanding guard your hearts and minds this week in Christ Jesus. And may the God of peace be with you. God bless your week, and we'll see you whenever.